I started my journey, I guess, with looking at school numbers when I was talking to an ISP regional financial consultant. I'm taking classes, and I had to talk to him about a project for some numbers, and so I sat down with him to learn more, and we were doing some forecasting the revenues, and I said, oh, there's a wind farm lady coming into our district, so I said we're going to have a nice increase in revenue. And he looked at me and says, well, and I thought, uh-oh. He said, most schools think that they're going to get a windfall from these turbines. Most, however, end up in about the same position. Some, a little to the good, but most are about the same position when it's all said and done. So I said, why is that? So he told me about the general state aid. We've heard about it tonight. We've heard about it from Dr. Loomis. We've heard about it many times. So that's nothing new. He said, the second thing, though, that most people don't think about is that there's different levies for the school. And there are. We have several levies, and we'll go over it in the next slide. Some of them have max tax rates, and some of them do not. And he said, a lot of times when different entities who are trying to make the income look good for school, they include all the tax rates and say, this is new income to the school. We'll go over why it's really not all of it. And I'm not in any way saying there's no income from the windmill. That would not be correct to say. I just want to make that clear. This is a chart of the different levies for the Prairie Central School District. The first 7 levies, I'm going to go over I'll go over them real quick. The education fund is the fund that pays our teachers, it pays our paraprofessionals, it pays our cafeteria workers, it pays the school supplies. That's where the bulk of the income or the revenues and the expenditures go for the school. As you can see, it has the highest tax rate, so we know that's where most of the operations go through. The second levy on the list is operations and maintenance. That's the building fund. It pays for the custodians, it pays for repairs to the school, it pays for heat, light, utility. Transportation is third on the list. Obviously, in our school district, we are 386 square miles. We are the largest school district in square miles in the state of Illinois. Obviously, our buses run a lot, and that is a very large expenditure for Prairie Central. Working cash fund is basically a savings account for the school. It's a rainy day, basically, savings for rainy day. Life safety pays for safety features for the school. It pays for, it's the smoke detectors, the fire alarms, those kinds of expenditures. Leasing pays for anything that the school leases. That would be computers, copiers, whatnot. Special education, that levy is to help educate students with special needs. IMRF and Social Security run through the pension fund, and they are that pays for the retirement of non-certified staff, and then Social Security pays for Social Security and FICA and Medicare taxes for all employees. The tort levy is basically a risk management fund. It's to help prevent legal costs for the school district. The bond levies are to pay for bonds that have been previously issued, and now the tax payments or the payments are due. We have to levy to make those payments. The first 7 in the list do have maximum tax rates. The current tax rates in the middle column also happen to be the maximum tax rates because Prairie Central is levying at the maximum rate right now for those levies. The bottom 4 do not have maximum. The reason is because those are special funds. The money that goes into each of those, the levies and funds, are restricted. You cannot spend any money from the IMRF Social Security Fund except for on IMRF Social Security. You can't transfer that money, you can't spend that money on anything other than what it's designated for. The same with the tort fund, you cannot spend it on anything other than what's in the risk management plan. And bonds, the only thing you can spend that money on is your bonds. The first 7, those tax rates add up to 4.19%. The second, and then if you include the bottom 3, it comes to 4.82-ish, 1%. The bond rates vary across the district because of right now we're hearing different bonds from Chinoa, Old Prairie Central, New Prairie Central, so that varies across the district. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit. I had to make a lot of slides and go over and over this, how to explain this to people who don't have a financial background, and I'm learning along with everybody else. Okay, so an example of a maximum tax rate. Thank you. Again, that's our education fund. We are levying at the maximum. We can't levy any higher tax rate. Okay. For a tax, this made up taxing body has two homes. Sally and Joe live in this taxing body. Each house have a home that's assessed at $100,000. Nice homes with $300,000 homes. This taxing body has a maximum tax rate of 5%. Okay, the total EAD is $200,000 for this little taxing body. So the taxing body will levy, and then will collect no more than $10,000 in total. Each homeowner would pay $5,000 in property taxes. Okay. Pat decides to move into this little taxing body. She builds a house, or he builds a house, another $300,000 home is assessed at $100,000. Now the taxing body says, oh, hey, here's more EAD for me to tax. And I can still tax at that same 5% rate. So now I'm going to levy $15,000. I now have $15,000 to spend. Each property will pay $5,000. Okay? Because there's now $300,000 of assessed value left on. So for levies with no maximum tax rates, the taxing body wins with more assessed properties. Okay? As one more person to roll, you get that much more money. Now let's look at the no max tax rate. That's the specialized levies that you cannot spend the money on anything other than what you need that money for. Okay? Same people, Sally and Joe, they're sitting in their nice $300,000 homes that are assessed at $100,000 each. If the taxing body in the first year levies for $10,000, it says I need $10,000 to pay whatever is in this max tax rate, or no max tax rate. Each home would again pay that same $5,000. Same as the previous example. Now in this example, Pat moves in and says, I'm ready to move here. She builds a home. And same value, $100,000 home. In this instance, the taxing body cannot say, oh, hey, there's another house. I can now levy more. No, it still only has legal obligations of $10,000. So it will still levy $10,000. And then that means that each person, instead of paying $5,000, will now pay $3,333 each. Okay? So the taxpayers win in this situation. When there's more taxing body, each person pays less to meet that same requirement. Does that make sense? Okay. This was really hard to come up with. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, what I did was, so I looked at the report that Dr. Loomis put out, and thinking back to what the ISD financial analyst said, I thought, well, did they use the higher tax rate, or did they use the other tax rate? So I looked back, and I calculated, and by what they used, that 4.8215% instead of the 4.19%. So his baseline, he says, for the average of all those years, those 23 years or whatever it was 441,000 average across the year that the school district would gain. But in reality, when you look down at the 4.19%, it's actually 288,000 that the school district would gain. The windmill, let me clarify this. The windmill is still paying the 441,000. I know they are. But the new money to the school district is really only the $288,000. Okay? So while the windmills are paying that part of that is reducing the burden to the rest of the taxpayers, but it's still not new money to the school district. We can't say, oh, we're going to get $441,000 more and hire 8 more teachers. No. We're only going to actually get $288,000 more, but that difference is going to help relieve the rest of the tax burden for everyone else. Okay? There's a big difference. So as I said, Dr. Loomis's figures, does not accurately reflect new money to the school district. It does, it's very close to what they actually do pay, I understand that. Even this overstated figure is just 2% of the current $22 million school budget. That's a pretty small number, I think. And when you look at when you take out those no max funds, it's about 1.3% of the current school budget. We all know that general state aid is affected, so we started looking at what if the wind farm actually does cause a drop in attendance at Prairie Central. General state aid is calculated based on average daily attendance. Average daily attendance is not enrollment. So if we have 22,130 kids enrolled in our district right now, 1,900 come to school on a given day. That is our average daily attendance. Families moving away will cause a decrease in ADA and enrollment. But students who are homesick because they didn't sleep last night will also cause a decrease in ADA. So a 1% decrease in ADA is about 20 students for Prairie Central. A simple example of how we could get to that 20, and this is, all hypothetical. If 3 families of 4 students moved away from the district, and then that would be 12 kids, and then 4 students across the district stayed home because their windmill lights and noise kept them awake all night. And then another 4 students became sick because they hadn't been sleeping well and they fell sick with the flu, or they actually do have some adverse health effects because of the turbine. Don't worry, I'm going to be short here. So this last chart shows the various options or scenarios, I guess. The first column is Dr. Loomis's, where he has no max funds included, with showing the average across the 23 years of $441,000 for the school district. The second column is the one that I think is more relevant to showing new money to the school district of $288,000. The third column shows a 1% attendance decrease, and that would drop the average for the 23 years down to $178,000, which is just 0.81% of the budget. A 1.5% decrease in attendance is 30 children a day. That's $123,000. A 2% attendance decrease would result in, over the average of 23 years, of $68,000. That's $32 per student per year for the wind farm. Again, I'm not saying that there's not a financial benefit to the windmills. We just need to look at how much of the financial benefit the windmills are.